This is Qtv News. I am Mariette Sidibe and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, said the rejection of the draft constitution by the National Assembly doesn't mean all hopes are dashed, as he is mandated to initiate further dialogue. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs has made a statement commemorating African Statistics Day, celebrated on November 18 annually. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, today held a symposium marking the beginning of World Anti-Microbial Awareness Week. Major Abdukarim Jah on Wednesday told the Truth Commission that he was arrested in March 2006 on the orders of Langton Bongtamba in connection with the Ndur-Cham-led foiled coup. In international news, police in Kenya have arrested 3 senior medical officers for allegedly running a child trafficking syndicate selling babies for £300. The U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced in a tweet that he had fired Chris Krebs, the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa held phone talks with U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday evening. In sports news, as the latest round of AFCON qualifiers concluded this week, the qualification picture became clearer in some groups as some teams booked their place in the finals. Now, the local news in detail. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, said the rejection of the draft constitution by the National Assembly doesn't mean all hopes are dashed, saying he has been mandated to initiate another dialogue. He was speaking on Wednesday during a day-long forum on linking the security sector and constitutional reform processes. Alusise reports.
The day-long consultation workshop on linking the security sector reform and the constitutional reform processes is organized by the Office of National Security in collaboration with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance, the CAF. It gathered representatives of various security apparatus to review the implications of the constitutional review process on the future or ongoing reforms of the security sector. Minister Dauda A. Jallow admitted that a lot was invested in the draft constitution, not only in terms of the millions of dollars spent, but in raising people's expectations. He urges Gambians to remain resolute and not to adopt a defeatist attitude as a result of the draft's rejection, saying throughout history, societies have always been challenged in introducing change. The Gambia, he went on, is not the first country to encounter constitutional challenges in the course of reforms, citing France, Zimbabwe and Tunisia as examples.
There is an urgent need to initiate a political process to dialogue with all stakeholders, especially with the leadership of all the political parties, including the President, to find a solution to the current constitutional impasse. As you may all be aware by now, I have been mandated by the Cabinet to proceed and initiate a dialogue among all stakeholders with a view to reaching a consensus on the draft constitution. At the end of the day, we want to get a best constitutional compromise achievable. In this regard, I will be working with the facilitators on this process. A reputable organization has been identified and given its familiarity with the current situation in the Gambia, as well as its international mandate of assisting and guiding fragile democracies like ours, could serve as an important vehicle to facilitate this process.
Retired Colonel Modu Baji, security advisor, believes security sector reform is an essential element in addressing challenges pertaining to peace and state building, democratization and rule of law.
Security sector reform, democratization and constitutional reform are naturally indeed very linked. The constitutional building process can therefore provide a critical forum for negotiations over changes in the relationship between civilian and security sector institutions.
David Belgrove, the British High Commissioner, informed the meeting that the best security agency is one that operates with the consent and approval of the population they serve and the country they represent.
But whatever happens with the draft constitution, SSR should always remain a work in progress. The security sector will always be a dynamic environment responding to challenges as they emerge. As partners, we can help by providing the technical assistance and advice on how best to improve and strengthen security sectors, and help by informing policy and strategy formation from past experience and best practice.
Panso Nyasi, DCAF country coordinator, says such convergence is important to brainstorm on partner security sector reform issues. He commends the government for the reform agenda embarked upon in 2017.
In this regard, the anticipated changes stemming from the Constitution will invariably shape the reform priorities in the overall security sector process.
The participants will come up with recommendations in moving forward security sector reform, which has taken longer than expected, despite the delay in acceptance of the draft constitution. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Alu Sise.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs has made a statement commemorating African Statistics Day, celebrated on November 18 annually since 1990, to raise awareness of the importance of statistics in all aspects of social and economic life. Omar P. Jallo reports.
The aim this year is to draw attention to the core competence within the statistical process, which is data production, analysis, and dissemination. For that reason, the theme chosen for this year's celebration is modernizing national statistical systems to provide data and statistics to support sustainable peace and development in Africa.
Gender-based violence. Socioeconomic statistics are essential to understanding and using economic information for planning and policy design. Macroeconomic decision-making that is grounded in data and statistics offers the better path to ensuring strong economic growth and job creation, which in turn lift the people out of poverty and increase their productivity.
The theme was chosen to raise awareness among decision makers, technical and financial partners, data producers, researchers, and the public about the critical importance of governance and socio-economic statistics in achieving the goal of a conflict-free Africa.
Statistics have shown that most crises and violent conflicts in Africa are driven by poverty, economic hardship, and violation or manipulation of constitutions, the violation of human rights, exclusion, inequality, marginalization, the mismanagement of Africa's rich ethnic diversity, relapse into cycles of violence in several post-conflict settings, and external interference in African affairs. Therefore, silencing the guns requires solving these problems that are the root causes of the social instability that are giving rise to armed conflict.
The contribution of statistics to peace goes beyond counting the sorrows caused by conflicts. Statistics can be used to create the conditions that are conducive to our continent's development.
The Gambia government is cognizant of the important role statistics plays in different aspects of our social, economic, and environmental life. The government will lead and coordinate with partners to ensure that adequate or more sustainable funding is provided for statistical operations in the country. Now on, more attention will be given for the regular production of core statistics relating to sustainable peace and development with a view to keeping society and government well informed in that regard. All actors, including those in government and civil societies, are invited to undertake data-driven analysis of peace and development in the country, thereby making better use of relevant existing data and statistics.
The day is also celebrated to make the case that more sustainable public funding should be allocated to national statistical systems in Africa for the regular production of core statistics relating to sustainable peace and development, with a view to keep society and government well informed in that regard. All actors, including those in government and civil society, are invited to undertake a data-driven analysis of peace and development in Africa, thereby making a better use of relevant existing data and statistics. Partners are invited to continue supporting countries in regularly producing statistics on core peace and development indicators. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, today held a symposium marking the beginning of World Anti-Microbial Awareness Week.
The World Anti-Microbial Week aims to increase awareness of global microbial resistance and to encourage best practice among the public, health workers and policymakers to avoid the further emergence and spread of drug-resistant infections. According to the World Health Organization, antimicrobial resistance occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi and parasites resist the effects of medications, making common infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of disease spread, severe illness and death. Antimicrobials are agents that are critical tools for fighting diseases in humans, animals and plants and include antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal and antiprotozoal medications. Antibiotic resistance will kill an estimated 10 million people annually by 2050 if appropriate measures are not taken.
So antimicrobials are also, unfortunately among the most frequently reported substandard and falsified medicines. And these substandard products are key drivers of antimicrobial resistance. Globally, 1 in 10 medicines is estimated to be substandard or falsified.
Globally, overuse of medications in humans, livestock and agriculture, as well as poor access to clean water, sanitation and hygiene have also accelerated the threat of antimicrobial resistance. According to the Deputy Permanent Secretary Tactical at the Ministry of Health, the Gambia has made significant strides in the fight to preserve antimicrobials.
We have established a national multi-sectoral AMR coordinating committee with a national focal person. The national public health laboratories conduct tests for multi-drug resistance, TB, using gene experts technology along with 4 other hospitals. Resistance specimens are required for drug sensitivity testing.
Overuse of antibiotics in food-producing animals can contribute to the development and spread of drug-resistant bacteria, which is a potential risk to public health.
Reduce the predisposing factor to antimicrobial resistance. That is, for example, the residues of these antibiotics that are used in veterinary being present in the food that is consumed by the human population. And also the misuse of veterinary drugs in the animal population, unnecessary, including up to the purposes of using it for growth promotion.
It is important for people to know these points to help fight antimicrobial resistance, understanding that antibiotics only work against bacteria. They don't work for colds and flus, which are caused by viruses. Also, not pressuring health professionals for antibiotics if they say you don't need them. Instead, ask about other ways to relieve your symptoms. Only take antibiotics when your doctor prescribes them for you and not using or sharing leftover antibiotics, following your health professional's instructions when they prescribe antibiotics for you. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
Major Abdukarim Jah on Wednesday told the Truth Commission that he was arrested in March 2006 in connection with the Nur Cham-led foiled coup, which he denied being part of. Major Jah said he was arrested on the orders of Langtombong Tamba. Babukarsi reports.
Narrating his ordeal before the TRRC, Major Abdukarim Jah recalled the failed 2006 coup when soldiers came to his house at night to arrest him, saying they were sent by Langtombong Tamba. Jah said he was taken away that evening to the Mile 2 Central Prison, where he spent the night. The following day, the junglers came for him and took him for questioning at the NIA headquarters in Banjul. Major Jah said he faced a panel consisting of Langtombong Tamba, Fodebari, Daba Marina and others who asked him to confess his involvement in the failed coup, which he categorically denied. The witness said he was not physically tortured but was returned to the Mile 2 prisons and kept at the security wing. In 6 months of his detention there, the witness said he was never given rest.
Up to 6 months, I have never been given rest to have sunlight.
Be gannaaw diiri juróom benni weer musuñ maa jox noflaay pour ma gis jant bi.
The morning they'll come in the morning, early in the morning, open you to go and take bath. And when you are taking bath, a security police prison officer will be standing outside waiting for you.
9 months into their detention, the witness said they finally took him and others to court. On the first day of the court hearing in Banjul, they were all charged with treason. On the second appearance in court, the witness said the charges were changed and the detainees were divided into 2 groups. The first batch of 6, including himself, were charged with concealment, while the rest were charged with treason. The witness said days later, while the case was on, the Director of Public Prosecutions ordered those charged with concealment to be released as they had not found concrete evidence against them. Major Jah said the authorities tried to convince them to change their statements to state witnesses' statement to testify against those charged with treason, but none of them accepted the offer. As they went back to Mile 2 prisons expecting to be released, the witness said they spent another 3 months in jail and nothing was said about their case. Major Jah said they were taken to court-martial and later given different sentences ranging from life, 25 years and 10 years in prison.
They pronounced about some life, some 25 years, some 10 years.
ñu daal di wax nag ñenn ñi seen giiri dunda ñenn ñu tëj leen ñaar fukki at ak juróom ñenn ñu tëj leen fukki at.
And I was sentenced for 25 years.
man nag ñaar fukki at ak juróom lañ ma tëjoon.
9 years, 4 months in prison before ex-President Jammeh announced on July 22nd celebration that he has pardoned them. Babukar Si, Qtv News.
We will go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues with international stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. In international news, police in Kenya have arrested 3 senior medical officers for allegedly running a child trafficking syndicate following a BBC investigation into the theft and sale of babies. More in this report.
The BBC investigation discovered that vulnerable women are being preyed on in Nairobi to feed a thriving black market for babies who are being sold for as little as £300. During the course of a year-long investigation, BBC's iAfrica found evidence of children being snatched from the vulnerable and homeless mothers. It also uncovered illegal child trafficking in street clinics and babies being stolen to order at some of Nairobi's biggest government-run hospitals. The baby stealers range from vulnerable opportunists to organized criminals who sometimes work as a team. After the arrest, the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutuyambai, has ordered an investigation into hospitals as well as children's homes in Nairobi. Investigators have also revealed that senior medical officers were closely involved with child traffickers. At a press conference on Tuesday, Kenya's Labour and Social Protection Minister, Simon Chelugey, said the culprits would face the full force of the law. He also acknowledged that improvements to some of Kenya's child protection services were needed. The driving force behind the black market is a persistent cultural stigma around infertility, which discriminates against many African women who are unable to bear children. There are no reliable statistics on child trafficking in Kenya, no government reports, and no comprehensive national surveys. The agencies responsible for finding missing children and tracking the black market are under-resourced and understaffed. One of the few safeguards for mothers whose children are taken is an NGO called Missing Child Kenya. In its 4 years in operation, the organization has worked on about 600 cases. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
The U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced in a tweet that he had fired Chris Krebs, the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, a federal agency in charge of securing U.S. elections. Omar Pijalo has the rest of that story.
The sacking came after the agency rejected the president's unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud. President Trump said he sacked the CISA chief Chris Krebs for what he described as highly inaccurate remarks on voter integrity. CISA and state election officials released a statement last week that says there was no evidence of compromising ballots or voting machines, saying the 2020 election was one of the most secure in the country's history. CISA, which falls under the Department of Homeland Security, was established by the Trump administration in 2018 to protect voting and ballot counting machines from foreign and domestic interference. Mr. Krabs, who was appointed by Mr. Trump, had been running the agency from its inception 2 years ago in the aftermath of accusations of Russian interference in the 2016 election. However, following his dismissal, the former Microsoft executive seemed to have no regrets. Krabs appears to confirm his removal from the post in a tweet on his personal account. He wrote, "Honored to serve. We did it right. Defend today. Secure tomorrow." He was also prompted to change his bio description on Twitter to First Director at CISA Gov Former. Mr. Krabs is the latest official to be dismissed by the U.S. President following his defeat, with Defense Secretary Mark Esper was sacked amid reports that Mr. Trump doubted the Pentagon chief's loyalty. According to local media reports, as has been happening with many others fired by President Trump, Mr. Krabs only learned about his dismissal when he saw the president's tweet. Mark Warner, the vice chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, supported Krabs after the news of his dismissal, saying, "Chris Krabs is an extraordinary public servant and exactly the person Americans want to protect the security of our elections. It speaks volumes that the president chose to fire him simply for telling the truth." Mr. Trump has so far refused to recognize the victory of Democratic President-elect Joe Biden and has repeatedly made unfounded claims of widespread fraud and malfunctions in voting machines. There is speculation in Washington, D.C. that before Mr. Trump leaves office in January, CIA Director Gina Haspel and FBI Director Christopher Wray would also be fired. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are yet to comment on Krabs' dismissal. For President Trump, it seems he is enjoying using one of the catchphrases from his TV series, The Apprentice. Doubtless, if and when Trump concedes, there will be many newspapers using the same catchphrase, which is, "You are fired." Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa held phone talks with U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday evening. Among other things, the two discussed strengthening of U.S.-Africa relations. Lolly M. Kamara tells us more.
According to a statement from President Ramaphosa's office, issues discussed included ways of overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic and the further strengthening of U.S.-Africa relations. President Ramaphosa, who also doubles as the African Union chairperson, says he looks forward to a strong partnership between the U.S. and Africa. A statement from the South African president's office also said President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris have identified Africa as a major player in international affairs and in the advancement of multilateralism. Many African leaders have congratulated Mr. Biden for his win, among them President Macky Sall of Senegal, Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari, Zimbabwe's President, Gabon's Ali Bongo Ondimba, and Sierra Leone's Julius Maada Bio. All look forward to a new, stronger U.S.-Africa relations based on mutual respect and shared values of international cooperation. Other leaders who have congratulated Mr. Biden include Prime Minister Scott Morrison of Australia and Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga of Japan. Having defeated incumbent Donald Trump in 2020 United States presidential election, Joe Biden will be inaugurated as the 46th president of U.S. on January 20, 2021. However, it is worth noting that President Trump and many of his supporters are refusing to accept or acknowledge that Mr. Trump lost the election. Mr. Trump has launched legal challenges against some of the results and made so far unsupported claims of electoral fraud. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
We will take another short break and we continue with sports news when we return. Welcome back. Now on to some sports news. As the latest round of AFCON qualifiers concluded this week, the picture became clearer in some groups as some booked their place in the finals, while in many groups there is still all to play for. More in this comprehensive roundup.
The AFCON qualifiers have concluded for this year and hostilities will resume in March 2021. Gambia's group is one where no qualification places have been settled. After defeating Gabon in Gambia, Gambian eyes turned towards the Angola versus DR Congo match. DR Congo emerged triumphant, taking all 3 points from the fixture played in Angola. This win makes the group very tight, and the Congolese moved on to 6 points, just 1 point behind leaders Gambia and Gabon respectively. With just 1 point from 4 matches, Angola's hope must have faded with 2 rounds of matches left. However, even though they are on a single point, mathematically and with a huge freak score wins in their final 2 matches, they are not completely out of the reckoning. Once again, Hakim Ziyech proved to be Morocco's inspiration for victory, as he scored and provided an assist as Morocco beat the Central African Republic 2-0 in Douala, Cameroon, to move closer to qualifying. It was Morocco's first effort on target, with the Central African Republic having had many chances to get a goal in the opening half. Elsewhere, there was joy for Tunisia and Mali, who both booked their places for Cameroon. Tunisia have qualified despite a 1-1 draw with Tanzania in Dar es Salaam, while Mali went through after a 2-1 victory away to Namibia. In Tanzania, the Carthage Eagles moved to 10 points on top of Group J after 4 matches and remain unbeaten. Tanzania's point moves them to 3rd in the group on 4 points and 2 points behind second-place Equatorial Guinea to keep alive realistic hopes of qualification. In Windhoek, Mali went top of Group A and booked a ticket to Cameroon after a 2-1 win over the hosts Namibia. Sheku Koita and Musa Doumbouya scored the goals for Mali, while Namibia's consolation was by Elmo Kambindu. The victory takes Mali top of the table with 10 points, 2 ahead of Guinea, who dropped to 2nd. Namibia remained 3rd with just 3 points after 1 victory. Egypt, meanwhile, made it 2 wins out of 2 in 72 hours and against the same opponents when they beat Togo 3-1 in Lomé, having struggled to beat them 1-0 on Saturday in Cairo. Egypt now joined the surprise package Comoros on top of Group G on 8 points each. After the barely believable 4-4 draw, where Sierra Leone came from 4 goals down to draw with Nigeria, there was excitement and anticipation ahead of the return in Freetown. This was made even more tantalizing as Nigerian fans, officials and players spoke of avenging the 4-4 draw. In the end, it was all talk. The match was dull, with little to report as both sides played out a boring 0-0 draw on a dreadful pitch in Freetown. As things stand, even last-place Lesotho have a mathematical chance of qualifying. Ethiopia revived their hopes of qualification with a comfortable and well-deserved 3-0 victory over Niger at the Addis Ababa National Stadium on Tuesday. This result sees Ethiopia move to 6 points and onto 3rd spot in the group, while Côte d'Ivoire and Madagascar retained 1st and 2nd place after playing out a 1-1 draw in Antananarivo. Madagascar seemed determined to show that their amazing run to the quarterfinals of the last AFCON was no fluke. So, lots still to play for in almost every group, and the next round of matches will resume and conclude in March 2021. Reporting for QTV News, I am Adi Darami.
Before we end this bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, said the rejection of the draft constitution by the National Assembly doesn't mean all hopes are dashed, as he is mandated to initiate another dialogue. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs has made a statement commemorating African Statistics Day, celebrated on November 18 annually. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the World Health Organization today, held a symposium marking the beginning of World Anti-Microbial Awareness Week. Major Abdukarim Jah told the Truth Commission that he was arrested in March 2006 on the orders of Langtombong Tamba in connection with the Ndur Cham-led foiled coup. In international news, police in Kenya have arrested 3 senior medical officers for allegedly running a child trafficking syndicate selling babies for £300. The U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced in a tweet that he had fired Chris Krebs, the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa held phone talks with U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday evening. In sports news, as the latest round of AFCON qualifiers concluded this week, the picture became clearer in some groups as some booked their place in the finals. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us at 10 for another bulletin. Thank you for watching.